You've been struggling with sleep, specifically difficulties falling asleep, staying asleep. Maybe you're thinking about sleep absolutely all day, all night. You've tried absolutely everything to fix it and nothing works. Well, I'm really glad that you've landed on this video because I'm going to teach you how to reclaim your life from insomnia. Just as a heads up, this is the second video of a 4-part series. If you aren't sure as to how insomnia starts and how it is perpetuated, then I do encourage you to check out that first video of the series. I will link it here above. And before we get started, and you are new here, my name is Fiona. I am a recovered chronic insomniac turned certified sleep coach. And I remember when I was first struggling with sleep, that nobody could actually explain what was going on, why I was struggling, what I was doing wrong. And I was trying everything that I was being told to do. And not only did none of it actually work, it would actually make things worse, which is why I want to break down today what reteaching your nervous system that it is in fact safe enough to fall asleep actually looks like, so that you can start applying these principles starting today. Let's start with a little bit of a recap as to what insomnia is, because it's going to be really important for us to know how to actually break the cycle. In very simple terms, insomnia starts with one bad night. We react badly to the fact that we haven't slept. We increase the pressure on sleep. And because we're increasing the pressure on sleep, sleep doesn't happen. Our nervous system thinks that not sleeping is a threat, that something bad's going to happen to us. And when our nervous system internalizes this as a message, it deploys cortisol and adrenaline into our bloodstream, and it actually makes us more awake. The more we try and fight this level of hyperarousal, this wakefulness, the more it is actually perpetuated. We try and calm ourselves down. We try and take melatonin. We avoid coffee. We avoid alcohol. Whatever it is, you either avoid or do certain things. It ultimately is sending that same message to your nervous system. Wakefulness needs to be avoided. Something is wrong. Something bad is going to happen if we do not sleep. The issue that we experience with insomnia is that it is a perceived threat, meaning that it isn't actually as threatening as we believe it to be. But the nervous system doesn't actually know the difference between a perceived threat and a real threat. If you're unsure as to what that difference actually is, I want you to think of it as a perceived threat is something that you can experience in its entirety without anything actually happening to you, versus a real threat, which is something that you can't actually experience in its entirety without something bad really happening to you. In real life, what does that look like? You can experience a fully sleepless night. You can literally not sleep the whole night. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Yes, it's not going to be great, but nothing is really going to happen. Like, it's not going to kill you, right? I know that a lot of us think and feel like it's going to, but it isn't. And that the difference would be a real threat, like being chased by a lion. You can't just experience being chased by a lion without that actually happening, right? But the experience tends to be the same, and that is because our nervous system is stuck in this level of hyperarousal. It is trying to fight off wakefulness, and we keep thinking, or we keep trying, or we kind of keep trying to chase sleep. And the harder we chase sleep, which is literally impossible because sleep is only regulated by 3 things: our circadian rhythm, our sleep drive, and our sleep need, the less likely, it is to happen, and the more our nervous system thinks that there is in fact an issue to begin with. Now that we know that insomnia is a perceived threat of wakefulness, that means that the way out of insomnia is to reteach our nervous system that wakefulness isn't in fact a threat. And we do that through the process of befriending, or ultimately, how can we experience this thing without trying to run away from it? A parallel example of a perceived threat is the fear of dogs. Imagine you experienced being bitten by a dog when you were younger, and ever since that experience that you had, you're a little bit more cautious around dogs. That means that in order for you to relearn that not all dogs are evil, or that this isn't going to happen with every single dog, you need to expose yourself to many cute little dogs in order for your nervous system to let go. That means that our nervous system learns through experience, through exposing ourselves to this thing without actually trying to run away from it. And it is exactly the same situation with sleep. Befriending wakefulness is going to be the complete opposite approach that you have been kind of approaching up until now, meaning that you're no longer trying to run away from wakefulness and trying to control sleep, and you're going to allow it instead. We need to remember that sleep is a completely passive process. It happens in the absence of effort. It is regulated by our sleep drive, our sleep need, and our circadian rhythm. And the harder we try and sleep, control our sleep, or avoid wakefulness, ultimately, the less likely it is to happen. Because sleep is a completely passive process, we can actually shift our perspective and start seeing wakefulness not as something that we need to avoid, but as something that we need to experience and allow, knowing that sleep will come to us when we are no longer chasing it. And I want you to just know that I in no way mean that you need to enjoy being awake at night or that you need to make yourself do something boring. No, this is simply a shift in perspective. How I like to frame it with my clients is you have been trying to control all of the wrong things. And in controlling all of the wrong things and desiring a specific outcome from the things that are outside of your control, you're failing to see all the things that you can control. Think of it like this. I'm sure that many times before you started experiencing this, you have fallen asleep watching a movie, right? It's probably not some boring movie or a boring crossword that you didn't want to do. You fell asleep in the absence of effort because your body is able and capable of falling asleep without you worrying about it. Now that we've experienced insomnia, you need to start seeing your sleep as the exact same thing. This element of befriending wakefulness is the question of how can I stop chasing sleep, knowing it is a completely passive process, and how can I allow wakefulness to happen without actually running away from it. And I know a lot of this can feel very confusing, but the only thing that I want you to ask yourself, and this applies for both during the day and at night, is the question, am I doing this with the intention of making sleep happen? If it's a yes, then ask yourself whether or not you need it. Maybe let it go, knowing that sleep is outside of your control. If it's a no and you genuinely want to do it, then do it. At night, that may look like, okay, maybe you get out of bed if you feel like you just can't fall asleep. Can you read a book? Can you journal and try and process your emotions? Can you watch a nice movie? Can you walk around the house? Ultimately, befriending wakefulness and teaching our nervous system is the shift in perspective of, oh no, catastrophic, to, oh well, what am I going to do about this? And I want you to really, really just trust me on this one, that I know it feels uncomfortable. Like, I know it sucks to be awake. Like, I'm not going to take that away from you. It sucks. It's super shitty. We don't want to be here, but it's the surrender of knowing that the harder you try anyway, the less likely it's going to happen. So how can you accept that it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable in the short period of time, and in the long run, you're actually going to find lasting recovery? The last analogy that I want you to think of when it comes to befriending wakefulness is to imagine that you are spending the night with a young child who cannot sleep. And I'm telling you this because so many of my clients tend to be new moms, expecting moms, dads with young children. Ultimately, we have experience, or maybe we spend time around little ones, and we know that sometimes their sleep is fragmented. If a young child, and you were caring for this child, could not sleep, what would you do? You probably wouldn't be telling it off, screaming at it, forcing it to go to sleep when it can't sleep. You would read a book with it, or with them, sorry. You would coddle them. You would tell them that they're safe. You would allow them to be tired the next day because it's part of being human, right? Ask yourself in that moment, how can you be that version of that parent? And the last analogy that I will use in association with befriending wakefulness is to imagine that you're spending the night with a young kid who cannot sleep. I work with a lot of new moms, a lot of expecting moms, a lot of dads that actually also have young children. And I like to use this analogy with them because when we can't sleep, we tend to beat ourselves up. We're trying to force sleep. We're trying to chase sleep. But if we were caring for a young child and they couldn't sleep, we would hold their hand, coddle them. We would spend time with them. We would read them a nice book. We would allow them to watch a nice show. Maybe we'd get them a nice warm glass of something to drink. Ultimately, how can you experience being awake without trying to force sleep to happen? You wouldn't force a young child to fall asleep. So why are you trying to do that to yourself, right? And use that as the example. You wouldn't be doing something boring with the kid in order for the kid to sleep. Like, yes, maybe they wouldn't be scrolling on your phone, but you would be spending time with them. You'd be kind to them. You would allow them to experience wakefulness. And when the emotions are like, if they arise, you would hold space for them. I want you to think of this the next time that you cannot sleep. How can you be that loving companion to yourself? How can you ask yourself, okay, sleep isn't happening right now. How can I shift my perspective to that which I can control and create an environment where sleep will eventually come back to me? Anyway, I'm going to leave this here on the befriending wakefulness side of things. It can be a confusing topic, so I would love it if you emailed me or dropped a comment, a question below. I promise to get back to you. And if you're curious about how to navigate your emotions and thoughts around sleep, then I do encourage you to check out the next video in this series, where I'm going to be breaking down difficult thoughts and emotions and how you can start understanding them and processing them, and ultimately keep kind of tickling along on this journey to recovery.